Joe Schoen and John Mara have officially distanced themselves from the New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll. Major reports are coming out surrounding the New York Football Giants, and even though we're not at the studio today, had to hop in front of a camera and get you guys a video. That's why you subscribe, because when there's things to talk about surrounding Big Blue, we're going to get you guys a video as soon as possible. So if you love the Giants and you want free videos every single day, go down right now, hit that big red sub button. Help us get to our goal of 100,000 subscribers. All right, major reports coming out from Diana Russini of The Athletic, as well as a bombshell report from Pat Leonard, a Giants insider who works for the New York Daily News. Let's start with this one. I guess let's go back to Tuesday, where the New York Giants ended up benching Russell Wilson, inserting Jaxson Dart into the lineup as quarterback one. We know that Brian Daboll said it over and over and over again. This was my decision. I made this move because I thought it was best for our football team. We put out a video a couple of days ago telling you guys that Brian Daboll was essentially on an island with this decision. He wants everybody to know it is his decision. And the reason that is because the New York Giants, being John Mara as well as Joe Schoen, did not necessarily agree with the move. Diana Russini is reporting that Brian Daboll made this move and is somewhat, by making this move, separating himself from the brain trust of the New York Football Giants. She's saying, I'm told that Giants ownership did not force the move to start Jaxson Dart. Neither did Joe Schoen. This call belonged entirely to Brian Daboll, and he wants everyone to know it. This is a PR move by Joe Schoen. This is a PR move by John Mara. They want it out there, in case this does not work, that they were not involved in this decision. They are almost trying to paint the picture that Brian Daboll has gone rogue. It's his move. And if it does not work, he is going to be fired for it. And you know what? This is BS. This is a BS move by Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen is supposed to be a friend of Brian Daboll. Why do you feel it is necessary to put out a bombshell report where you are giving inside information to Diana Russini to paint the picture that Brian Daboll is doing this against the wishes of the organization? That if he makes this move, it's his move, and it's going to get him fired. That is BS. Joe Schoen and John Mara, they are cowards for that. And this report comes out on the heels of a major report from Pat Leonard, who said Brian Daboll ended up having enough pull inside the organization to shift the Giants' NFL draft plans and their quarterback search away from Shedeur Sanders to Jaxson Dart. Again, Joe Schoen distancing himself from Brian Daboll. He's doing that because he is not in agreement with Daboll to play Jaxson Dart, and he does not want to have his feet on the ship of Dart in case it starts to sink. So we are now learning, which we've already known, that Brian Daboll wanted Jaxson Dart. Joe Schoen in the Giants front office did not. They wanted Shedeur Sanders. They wanted another quarterback. But Brian Daboll was able to flip that script. So what does all this mean? The Giants are letting everybody know Brian Daboll wanted Jaxson Dart. Brian Daboll inserted him into the starting lineup, and Brian Daboll will have to pay the price if it does not work. Why is Joe Schoen doing this? He wants to paint the picture that it was not his decision. He was not involved in Jaxson Dart being started. A, because he didn't think he was the guy. B, because he didn't think he was ready to be the starter. But C, most importantly, he's trying to save his ass, save his career, and save his job as the Giants general manager if it does not work. So if it doesn't work, he's able to potentially keep the job and go find his own quarterback, because he wanted the 5th round pick, Shedeur Sanders, to be the number 3 overall pick. It's a coward move by Joe Schoen. It's a coward move by the Giants. And it all is because John Mara is the owner of this football team. You don't lose 14 out of 15 games by chance. You don't start seasons the way the New York Giants have by chance. You don't have the worst record in the National Football League since 2017, right alongside the Jets by chance. There has been bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. And the New York Giants, led by John Mara and Joe Schoen, care more about PR than they do W's. How about you come out and say, yeah, we back Brian Daboll. We back him. We believe in his decision to draft Jaxson Dart. We believe in his decision to make Jaxson Dart the starter. Joe Schoen doesn't have the nuts for that. He doesn't. He is a salesman up there just trying to keep his job every single day. It's very disappointing. And that's why I thought, and I still believe, and I feel vindicated in it, the New York Giants should have fired Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen at the end of the season last year. They were always a package deal. You come in together, you go out together. Now Joe Schoen is trying to separate himself from Daboll because he knows how this works. If you're a head coach and you have 3 losing seasons in a row, you're going to be fired. He sees the writing on the wall, and now he's trying to save his job by saying, oh, no. I wasn't involved in Jaxson Dart being named starter. I wanted to continue with Russell Wilson as we were 0-3. No. I didn't want to draft Jaxson Dart. I didn't want to do that. That was a Daboll move. But you know what, Joe? You empowered and you employ Brian Daboll to make these decisions. I hope that Brian Daboll gets the last laugh. I do. And if he doesn't, and Jaxson Dart isn't good, and Brian Daboll has to get fired, John Mara, I hope you're smart enough to also fire Joe Schoen. Because he is much more responsible for the Giants' lack of success, lack of winning, and the bulk of losses than Brian Daboll. The chef can only cook with the utensils in the kitchen and the groceries that the general manager gets him. And Joe Schoen, he's bought a bag worth of shit when it comes to groceries, dating all the way back to his first offseason here. Very soft, very disappointing, and I guess you could say on brand for the New York Giants. Joe Schoen, John Mara, distancing themselves from Brian Daboll because they know he's about to get fired. No backbone. I'll say this, though. I can't wait to give all the credit in the world to Brian Daboll and none of the credit in the world to Joe Schoen if and when Jaxson Dart proves he could be a franchise quarterback. Appreciate all y'all for tuning in. Probably going to put out another video today on the injury report. So subscribe, turn those notifications on, and hit that thumbs up icon for me.